Question: do I remind you of Paul Rudd? Maybe the way I talk, the way I act, most specifically, the way I look. Do I resemble Paul Rudd? Do I remind you of him? Because this is a comment that keeps popping up here recently. It didn't always used to be that way. Here recently, since I've had my transformation, becoming fit by age 40, people are saying that I look like Ant-Man or Paul Rudd. I'm getting that in the comments. I'm going to share one of those comments here in just a moment. But I will also say at work, we have a video call every Friday where there's like 23 people on it. And this guy in Texas who I've never met, he said, "You remind me of Paul Rudd. Not only do you look like him, but the way you act reminds me of him because you're kind of awkward, but you're funny." So yesterday I brought it up on the call again, and I refer to myself as Paul Rudd's stunt double. So we'll see if that nickname picks up at work. So do I remind you of Paul Rudd? If you think I do, then just give this video a thumbs up, and that's your way of voting. Let the free market speak. So I will go ahead and share this video, and I'll give a little commentary on this myself as far as how I feel about this. So a video I made, and this comment came in just a few minutes ago in real time. The video I made was called "You Can't Prove a Person Wrong and Still Get Them to Respect You, Emotional Intelligence 101. So our friend Raja J had this to say, quote, "I truly love these types of videos. Sir, my name is Raj, and I am the person who said you look like Paul Rudd. Telling this just because I truly love you and will appreciate if I could get away by just saying my name in the future. Lots of love and respect, 2 hearts," end quote. So yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing here for you, Raja. I'm making this video. I gave you your shout out there. But also I think this is a very relevant video topic, and I think that people will be engaged by that question. Do I remind you of Paul Rudd? So what I would say, and I want to talk about Paul Rudd. Imagine how funny it'd be if he actually was watching this video. Stranger things have happened. I'm actually on the final episode of Stranger Things right now. I'm like an hour away from the final episode. So Paul Rudd, what I think of when I think of Paul Rudd immediately, I remember him the very first time I saw him in a movie. And it was Clueless, which came out in 1995. I was a teenager. I was a freshman in high school. And I remember watching the movie and seeing him in it. He's got a small role in it. He's like her stepbrother or whatever. And I remember thinking as a teenage kid, like, oh yeah, he seems like a cool guy. I wonder if that's kind of how I'll look as I get older. Because again, I was 14. And so that was the first time I saw him in a movie. That is one of his first movies that he was in. And just over the years, he just kept popping up other movies, a lot of the Judd Apatow movies. And as it would turn out, you know, most of you know I turned 40 this year, a couple months ago in April. And my wife and I, one of our favorite movies to watch together is This Is 40. And I remember when that came out nearly a decade ago, thinking, I wonder if it'll be like that for us when we turn 40. Because my wife and I are very similar in age. She turns 40 next month in August, whereas I turned 40 in April. So we're both born in 81, where our birthdays are very close to each other, just like Paul Rudd and his wife in the movie. And so that was always something that we were aware of. Wow, we'll turn 40 the same year around the same time. So that was interesting. But we liked the movie. There's just something about it, like it really is relevant to us at age 40 as far as what the characters go through and how all that works out. So there was that, and then of course Ant-Man came out and he became one of the Avengers, so then that really put him over the top as far as his name and his reputation as an actor. But specifically, and this is why I thank you for the compliment, anyone who agrees that I remind them of Paul Rudd, is that he is a good looking guy and looks really good for his age. So that's cool. Oh, another thing about Paul Rudd, this is probably the most personal one as far as what really connected me with Paul Rudd, is I Love You Man. So when that movie came out, my wife and I had just recently got married, and I remember we randomly went to go see it, and we loved it so much we went back the next weekend and went and saw it again. And even on our wedding day, which by the way, we got married July 5th, so last weekend was our 13th wedding anniversary. But what she had hinted, what she wanted, like a gift for me on our wedding day, was a copy of that movie on DVD. Like, I Love You Man. Like that's just, so that movie and and This Is 40, both which star Paul Rudd. So that's interesting. So there's this whole connection about Paul Rudd, and even my wife and I, like, we like him. So closing thought about Paul Rudd is that a lot of people don't realize he's Jewish. And I remember learning that on Conan O'Brien, where it had this VHS footage when he was working at a bar mitzvah, and he was like the MC, as random as that was, when he was like 20 years old. And I remember seeing that on Conan. By the way, have you ever watched him on Conan? They have this running gag about how they show footage of this 80s movie, Mac and Me. I remember when that came out, and I saw it in second grade. They showed it at school, like for some, like a pizza party or something. So I remember seeing that back in 1989 when I was in second grade. So Paul Rudd, closing thought. So he's Jewish, even though I'm not a practicing Jewish person, but on my mother's side, undeniably, there is Jewish DNA that comes via Spain. One of my grandfathers was a first generation Italian American, but my mom and I always knew that there had to be some kind of Jewish background. And of course, we took DNA tests and it confirmed it. Apparently there's something called, not Spanish Jews, what is it called? Like Sephardic Jewish people. So apparently at some point they were forced to convert to Judaism, or from Judaism to Christianity, to Catholicism, and generations later, here we go. So I think that's not a coincidence that I look like him and I act like him, and I've always appreciated Paul Rudd. So there you go. There's everything I have to say about that, but I really want your input. Oh, one more thought. So as I stated earlier, I have had a transformation as far as how I look, you know, and even right before I shot this video, I pulled up my phone because I've got a YouTube app on my phone, and I showed just a thumbnail from a video that I shot right after I turned 39 over a year ago. And I said, look at me, look how I looked. And it's weird, and I invite you to do the same. Go back and watch a video from like early 2020, like before COVID. Watch it, because that was really before I started working out and changing how I eat and going keto and all that stuff. Look at me in one of those screenshots, or watch one of the videos, and you can tell I weighed a lot more. You can tell my body fat percentage was a lot higher, and also I had longer hair just that looked messy. So now I got the shorter hair. I have definitely reduced my body fat percentage. I'm keto now. I'm weight training, all this stuff. And it's funny because you can imagine, you can't be fit by age 40 and not do those things. It's not an accident. Of course, with Paul Rudd, he has to do those things for his movies, obviously for Ant-Man. But even, I remember watching a behind the scenes thing about how basically some producers said, hey, you need to kind of trim down. And if you look at Paul Rudd when he was in his late 30s, he wasn't this slim, but he eventually got there, and then he became very famous. I think even that's interesting, because what I was gonna say, final thought, it used to be the reoccurring comment I would get is, you look like Ben Affleck. That was the main thing people used to say about me. But when I slimmed down and got my hair cut shorter, now people are saying Paul Rudd. So you be the judge. You determine reality by leaving a comment right here.